All right. I cannot be disappointed anymore. So, unless they say something like you have to pay monthly to play the game.
Hey folks, lovely to have you joining us and welcome home.
I'm lovely. I'm happy to be here.
What a week it's been for all of us. You now know what we know, that the all-out warfare of Battlefield is headed to 2042. So stick around with me, Freeman, hello, and some of the gang from across DICE. We're here with you for the next while we look back at everything that we've revealed this past week. Now, to keep things
nice
as
recap
safe and responsible as possible, we are pre-taping this live stream so that we can spend as much time as we can talking with you and taking you behind the scenes. But please do say hello in the chat. We're all watching live along with you from our homes.
Hello.
So, starting us off, I'm here with Oscar Gabrielson and Daniel Berlin, Design Director for 2042. It's lovely to see the both of you. I mean, Oscar, you're looking resplendent.
But look, we've had a year of working from home, right? And you can use that time in different ways. One, of course, to build an amazing Battlefield 2042, but you can also experiment with beards and, exotic haircuts. But Daniel and I have agreed, as we reach our next big milestone, I can finally drop this thing, so we just need to hurry a bit, that milestone, right? And then we should be all good, back to normal.
No pressure, Daniel.
No pressure at all.
So let's get started then. 2042, a brand new setting for us for Battlefield. This is exciting. What got us to this era?
Yeah, it's actually one of those moments I remember quite dearly. So I think it must have been 3 years ago now. We kind of headed up on the 11th floor at DICE, and we were actually supposed to look at the concepts for this next Battlefield game. And this time around, the team went quite wide. I think we looked at 12 different concepts or so. Some really unconventional things, some that took us back in time, some things that took us into the future. We looked at ripmatics and, a lot of concepts. And then we got to this thing that we called 2042. And we all looked at that, piece and kind of looked around the room. And we just kind of felt it in here. We found it. It was this kind of special moment of taking the best pieces of Battlefield 3 and 4, that notion of like modern warfare, and then spicing it up a bit with cutting edge hardware. And some of that we've seen in the last couple of days, of course.
I think this is the point where they should have said we should hire Doodle. He's been preaching this for the last like 3 years. I was there before anyone else.
Another big thing for us as well. This is the first Battlefield in many years for us where we're putting full focus on multiplayer.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big one for us. I mean, multiplayer is what we do best, and we've done best across now the 2 decades that Battlefield has existed. So, in Battlefield 2042, 3 core experiences. Of course, now we've talked about all-out warfare. We're going to bring back Conquest and Breakthrough on a bigger scale than ever. 128 players.
128
to play on.
Holy shit!
More to update on as we get to
Holy shit! Imagine 128 people all out warring.
Oh my god! With all of you, let's get into the absolute nitty-gritty.
People still fighting for the jets and the helicopters.
Daniel,
it's just gonna make it worse.
Changes to Conquest, as Oscar mentioned, big focus for us in this first section. Yeah. But Conquest has had some significant changes to meet this big new scale that we have for 2042.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it is a leap for us, right? And when we go to 128 players, and when you go to a larger play space, you can't just kind of copy what we've done before. We had to also kind of reinvent how we approach level design and how we approach pacing in the game. So what we're doing this time around to really encapsulate still the essence of Battlefield and the pacing that our players know and love is that we're introducing this concept that we're calling clusters. While watching the gameplay reveal, for example, we have this map called Hourglass, which is set in Qatar, which is really, really awesome. And this map really speaks to the new mentality around the level design, I think, and the clustering, because you can almost imagine it as a massive battlefield. But within that massive battlefield, there's almost multiple battles going on. If you go to the western part of this map, you'll find a huge stadium. And within the stadium itself, there's multiple capture points. And if you want to own the entirety of the stadium, that entire sector, you have to actually fight and control all of the capture points within that sector to capture the entirety of the stadium. But then you can.
I really
so
like this
imagine
concept
you're in there
that,
with your squad and
like,
you're engaged
right
in a
now it's like,
close
you know,
quarter combat
points,
situation,
like
and
one
it's
of the
quite
7
hectic,
points
and
you
then
need to capture.
you manage to win.
Now there's literally telling you
go like, okay,
one of the
that's a
7
little pop,
points to
right?
capture one sector.
Then you run outside the
But there's
stadium
like
and you
4
open up your maps
sectors.
and you go like,
I
okay,
love
where do we
that.
go next, guys? We see that they're capturing the Neon City on the far end of the map, and then you go like, okay, we got to get there. So you bring up your call-in tablet. You say like, okay, when you're a transport vehicle, I need it over there. It comes down with a parachute, lands in front of you. Your squad hops in, and then you have a traversal as you travel to
He's
this
still
other
my beating
sector,
heart.
which is
It's
a
only
sector
4
full of
months away.
skyscrapers,
Calm
where
down.
You can zip line between the roofs of the skyscrapers as you fight for multiple skyscrapers. So it's this concept of clustering objectives into concentrated areas where we can have high pacing, but then also having different types of gameplay in these. And in between these spaces as well, you have vast open landscape on the Hourglass map, for example, the rolling sand dunes. And it's really cool for people that really love vehicle gameplay to be engaged in vehicle on vehicle type of combat in between these
Wow,
clusters.
they're actually
But there's, of
facilitating
course, also within the level
actual
design
vehicle
areas
gameplay.
of our maps that is
Like,
built
it's not
for
just as
the
a means of
infantry
transport. They
and,
really want people to start
vehicle
fighting
mix.
in those
Hourglass
clusters.
is a perfect spot for this. If you go down south of the map, there's actually a quite sizable village down there, which has interior for infantry, but the vehicles can also roam the streets there, and it's a really good matchup in there. And in the center of the map there, you have these massive arches that is overlooking this highway intersection where this massive convoy has run to a stop, and there's lots of vehicles that have been abandoned and stuff like that. So lots of stuff is happening with Conquest and with the level design in order to really bring out the scale and for us to really infuse more battlefield moments and just sandbox gameplay in general, I'd say.
Yeah, because this is very much just what we do, isn't it? Making these big maps. And I mean, we were talking earlier about how a lot of this new approach for us with clustering is very much inspired by the success we've had in maps in the past. Like Goldman Railway, we were chatting about earlier on, and Sinai Desert with the village that you kind of have there as well.
Perfect example.
This is where a lot of that kind of comes from for you and the team?
We kind of tested the concept a couple of years ago with those games. But now we're kind of taking that concept and we're taking it to the max, basically. So it's been really fun for us to kind of test around these different types of setups and landing on something that we really like. But I think that it's important to mention with Conquest that like the freedom and access to the sandbox is literally at your fingertips. Do you need a vehicle? Okay, call-in tablet, get it in here.
I love the UI, by the way. I love the UI. I love this as well.
Hey, the plus menu, just change it out on the fly. You don't have to respawn or anything like that. And the freedom of choice. Like, hey,
You can change your gun on the fly?
Hey, I want to have some awesome, crazy verticality.
Oh my!
Go to the Neon City.
Oh my! I like that.
You know, vehicle on vehicle.
I like that.
Just roam the fields in between. But then we have Breakthrough as well, right? In 2042,
I love Breakthrough.
We're separating the experiences and making them more distinct and leaning into the strengths of them to a higher degree, I would say. So while you have this, what we call varied pacing in Conquest, where you have this high octane combat situation in the stadium, and then the pacing goes down, and then you call in your vehicle, and then you travel, you talk, and you strategize. Should we attack the Neon City from the south, from the west? In Breakthrough, it's more like we take 128 players, and it's two teams, the defender and the attacker, and we compress them down to a smaller space. We say, like, now you're going to fight in this sector only. So Breakthrough is this experience where you go on this journey throughout the map, but it's just short time to action. It's just chaotic and crazy, but we're still leaning into the size here as well. We wanted to give you more tactical opportunity when you're playing Breakthrough than we've necessarily done in the past. So we still use the width of the map to a large extent. So if you find yourself spawning, running forward, just like, there's a meat grinder in front of me, lots of people dying here, lots of things going on. We're now going to give you ample space to flank around and then take other strategic opportunities as well.
Yeah, and it really is exciting. So many of the Battlefield fans that I've been chatting to since we revealed the game and then showed off gameplay last week at Xbox, they are really excited at these changes. But then, of course, there's so many new players who suddenly are really excited to find out what this is. And I think one of the best new things that we're really adding is that we're creating kind of new ways for people to get into the experience with our use of AI.
Yeah, I mean, AI has been one of those things that we've been kind of, cooking back at DICE for many years, and Battlefield 2042 is kind of the perfect timing with next-gen tech to introduce it. So in Battlefield 2042, you can actually kick off the game and play solo with AI squad members on a whole big team with AI members facing AI. And that's just a great way to kind of learn the basics of the game. Mastering weapons, understanding how the vehicles and
Wow,
gadgets
they
work.
they literally do
And from there, then
128 player
graduate
AI
into a
games
mix
as well.
of both with like real humans in PvP and AI. It's just a really good way for us to onboard new players, but actually even in regions where sometimes we don't have enough players online on the service, we'll just fill that up with AI until everyone comes online, and we can have all those servers full with only in Battlefield Mayhem 24/7. So it's pretty cool.
Going back to the maps.
So
Daniel,
basically, teams will always be
they're big.
balanced because
We've
AIs
obviously been
take
able
the
to show
place, and then
off
when
one
somebody
of them,
joins the server,
with
he
Hourglass
takes the
in
place of an
trailer this
AI.
last weekend.
It's good.
But just in general, like,
Hopefully
to
the
help
AIs can actually
conceptualize it
shoot
for
a little
people,
bit.
Just how big are they? So like when we give these past references to some of our older maps, which are quite big, now we're at 128 players, like how much of a scale increase have we gone for on some of our maps?
Like what, like a fourth?
There's not like a general number we've said, like, okay, they need to be 2 times or they need to be 4 times or something like that. We just, for same, kind of staying true to the formula of Battlefield in the sense that some maps are smaller than others, but across the board, things have increased in size because this is the nature of having 128 players and needing to kind of accommodate for that in terms of pacing. So it has grown in size. But
Caspian Border, I love that one.
Smaller than
and Hamada.
Hourglass, for example, is one of the bigger ones we have. I think it's the second biggest one, next to Irreversible, which is the biggest one.
Oh my god!
5.9 square kilometers, which is quite insane.
God!
But again, in that map, when you go there, we will have the same mentality of the like the clustering. So if you want to have the example you gave, Freeman, with
Panda.
like if you go into Reversible, there is a
Holy
place
shit!
called the
one of their maps is 4 times as big,
really big
as Hamada from Battlefield 5.
Silos,
4 times Hamada.
Barracks for workers to live in different
That's
types
huge.
of industrial buildings and stuff, where you can still get that really high octane battle. And over to the side, there's also a big oil rig, which has a lot of close quarter combat. So it's that concept of choosing where you want to fight in this massive battle.
I like that. I like that. I really like that.
We've mentioned
Peeked in for a hi, I'm heading to the cats. Alright, Panda. Hope you have fun with the cats.
We're launching with 7 for our all-out warfare part of the game. Like, Oscar, which
hope you're doing okay.
Have you found to be the absolute coolest?
I have to say Kaleidoscope. Again, I'm a big kind of Siege of Shanghai fan from BF4, but Kaleidoscope is kind of that.
Remember when it came out and I said it looks like fucking Shanghai?
The wingsuit that we're introducing in the game, the grappling hook that McKay uses, and the zip lines. There's just some like awesome, gameplay that emerges from all of that when players are like flying between skyscrapers, right, left, and center. Must be one of the favorites. How about yourself?
Yeah, that is. I mean, I also love urban settings in that sense. It gives you that kind of almost like heat feeling when you're running on the city streets and ducking behind cars. Cars are the best covers in video games ever. They just break in fun ways, so they're awesome to hide behind. And of course, having multiple skyscrapers, having up.
Tired. See you later, Hefe. All right, Panda. See you later, my man. Appreciate you swinging by, brother.
That's super cool. But yeah, I mean, my favorite, I like Hourglass a lot when we saw in the game sort of reveal. I just love the stadium and the Neon City and the town to the south and the arches in the middle and the rolling thunders in between. I think that's just so cool because there's so much variety in there. You can really choose how you want to play. But yeah, no, that we'll have to say that one. I don't know, maybe.
But Orbital is pretty nice.
Orbital.
Just waiting for the rocket launch. There's this like perfect space you can stand on and like to see the rocket launch. Hopefully no one shoots you when you're watching the thing because it's quite spectacular.
Yeah.
That's a favorite, right?
That is definitely a favorite. I like that a lot. I like the big open space in front of the rocket, which is kind of like a space where you can move in between for a lot of vehicles to do, but the infantry can move to the sides around it and go from building to building to building. But it also has a really cool other aspect because you have the launch site over here, but on the other side of the hill in the mountain, you actually have a cryo facility. And you can choose to like take the roads, or you can choose to kind of just run across the mountain if you want to. But there's also a massive tunnel that goes through. And I've been in some playtests where it's just, okay, we captured, the rocket facility, and now let's head on to the cryo plant. and we get into a transport vehicle and we hop in and we start going in that tunnel. It's just like no. And then also you go for a turn. It's just like one of the places I was facing 2 enemy tanks, and I was like, oh yeah, that's it. And then boom, I'm gone.
Yeah.
So that tunnel is really cool. It's just a lot of cool moments and a lot of the gameplay spaces we built. It's difficult to choose which one is the favorite, to be honest.
I mean, it really is the most common thing, though, because I ask this question of everyone across the studio, and it's always the same every week, because we get to playtest and we work through all of the different maps. Every week we discover something new that we love about these new ones. It's so cool. Of these maps, though, of course, they're more than just maps. They're very dynamic in their nature of them. We've obviously took a lot of inspiration from our past and looked, now very much at the new technology offered to us by Frostbite and the upgrades that we've done on all our engines. These worlds are a lot more dynamic now, Oscar.
Yeah, I mean, we've worked for a good 3 years now on some of these new weather and evolution systems. I remember in that first pitch when we talked about the game, maybe it was Daniel, maybe it was someone else from the design team, said like, wouldn't it be cool if we could throw like a real-time tornado onto the battlefield that could turn everything kind of upside down and cause massive destruction? And I think everyone's sitting there kind of nodding. We looked over at the tech team and they're like, oh, are we supposed to make this work? And then kind of a year later, we had that first prototype. And I remember us showing it to other team members like, okay, but that's pre-rendered, right? It just has to be fake. Can't look that like that. And we were like, yep, it works. And I think, it's sort of, being a thing that would run like spectacle on the maps in massive ways. But now it's kind of one of the core gameplay drivers as well. I mean, you can actually use that big tornado.
That's designers versus the developers a lot.
Just to kind of escape.
On a smaller scale, we see that a lot when we do server stuff as well. We have a really cool idea, and then the dev that needs to work on it is already like...
Sand that also passes by. I think one
this
of the things that I really love
this
about,
actually got me, like seeing that big sandstorm come in. Also the grappling hook.
And this is a big kind of like
I love grappling hooks.
Entity just moving across the map, and you don't know where it's gonna go. It doesn't go in the same path every time. You don't even know if it's gonna show up, to be honest. And it just causes a lot of those unexpected fun physics moments where there's the scenario I described in the event where I'm just like I'm running. That was on Orbital, and I was running from the rocket towards the rocket assembly building across that big open space. And of course I was stupid, so I was just like, I can run that, no problem. So I started running, and then they just started running, and then I just heard the shots are coming back. I was like, yeah, of course. I mean, I'm stupid. And I look over, and there's a sniper. He's not in a building. He's actually sitting on a little knoll over there. And he's taking shots at me. And I'm just like, oh, well, this is over. I mean, I'm just going to start to zigzag and do my stuff and try to survive. But the storm is actually somewhere else right now. But it happened to have picked up a transport vehicle and flung it up. And then it had flung it across the map. So I'm just running there. And all of a sudden, we just see like, and he just lands on the sniper. I'm just like, yes. That's because that's the fun, unexpected things when you introduce a lot of physics into a sandbox environment. So I think it's such a great addition to the.
I feel so bad for that sniper. He was trying his best, and then suddenly a car flew into his fucking face.
Used the game with lots of new tools, and
that sniper is me, by the way.
Cutting edge technology, and also you push that in there and let players have a lot of fun with them, combining things and doing that stuff. That's the secret.
That's my kind of luck.
And it's not just the big flashy things either. There's lots of just small interactions we've built back into our levels now to give players much more agency as they kind of move about the space.
Yeah, we had those in Battlefield 4 as well, but we've expanded the roster there. So things like, hey, I'm holding this checkpoint, and I see that we're playing Breakthrough, for example, and I see there's tanks coming at us. It's like, oh, I'm going to raise the bollards. So they would have to have a teammate actually leave the tank, or have someone else come in and lower them for you to be able to pass through and actually get to the capture point. And I mean, we mentioned all the zip lines. There are different types of gates and doors that you can lock down. There's bridges that you can raise, that you can lower on Kaleidoscope, for example. So we've really leaned into the dynamic nature of the space and make it feel like you can interact and you can counter different type. Oh, there's an attack coming. Oh, I'm gonna raise the bridge, so now their vehicles can't actually pass and stuff like that. So
that's good,
really great
because otherwise people with tanks can just hold any point.
The world then that
like just a squad that has a tank and they just have people protecting the tank.
But
it's nice that the environment allows you to be creative.
playing with in those worlds. So
Not like you have to
weapons,
force yourself to get an
vehicles, you've made
RPG
some
just to
really
take
big
it out.
changes for 2042. The biggest of which that people have been chatting about is specialists and how that's kind of integrating with what we've done in terms of roles in the past. So Daniel, how are the specialists fitting in?
I'm curious about this
world.
So the specialists are. So let's take a step back, I think, first, because we looked at this for quite some time in terms of what we wanted to do here, and we looked at a lot of player data. We looked at feedback, and we looked into like the internal sentiment. And there was a lot of things we can also see through the data specifically that a lot of players chose their class based on the primary weapon that was available. Meaning you didn't choose necessarily a recon because of the gadgetry, but you actually chose a recon because you got the bolt action sniper rifles.
Yeah,
and you
I
didn't
hate that.
choose your class because you wanted to play a certain role.
Yeah.
So that was the thing we wanted to kind of target with this change specifically. We wanted to bring the game into a space that when you choose which specialist to play with, you go like, okay, I want to play this particular role. So what we've done is that basically you have the traditional class, say recon, is more of a category now. And underneath that category, you have multiple specialists that has a gameplay role that is a recon gameplay role. But what we're also doing to kind of to bring this even further in terms of unlocking the sandbox is that we're saying take Casper, for example. He's a recon type of specialist. His particular gadget that he uses, that only he can use, is the recon drone. But aside from the recon drone, Casper can bring a shotgun, a sniper rifle, an SMG, an LMG, whatever you want to put on Casper, you can put on Casper. You can put a rocket launcher on Casper to
okay. This is a good change. So basically now you don't have to say a particular class,
so
you pick a particular class anymore to play particular guns.
I've seen in previous games where on certain maps that were vehicle heavy, you just
hey
saw
Cockers,
one class being
not much
played,
man, just looking at the battlefield stuff. How you doing, man?
But now you choose your gameplay role, and then we have a whole array of open gadgetry that you can just freely choose from. So we see a better diversity in terms of gameplay styles across all our maps.
That's good.
Okay, we talked about Casper there. We showed three other of our
I'll quickly pause here. So this is really good because, for example, with my group of friends, Ross really loves playing tank. I like backing him up, but I don't like being in the tank. So this means I can actually be an engineer and help him repair his tank whenever he needs it, but still have my AR out, and I don't have to be forced to be an LMG or a shotgun user. This is good. Like, for me personally, this is good.
Split off in the past week. We've got Falk, McKay, and Boris. Your favorite of the bunch?
Oh, yeah, I always get into too much trouble. I'm a way too aggressive Battlefield player, so the grappling hook with McKay helps a whole lot. But there's something special, right, with Falk as well. Getting the opportunity to revive teammates, from afar. It creates these really unexpected moments where, like, I can actually help that guy. And he can shoot the other guy in the back. You're like, yeah! Like, it's never felt so great to actually revive a person that kind of really help the team move forward.
Distant reviving.
I think
I like
that's
that.
going to be a really favorite type of specialist for people that were really
well
into.
done on the NDT. Nice. You have to show me.
But I think we need to just quickly mention that, like, Falk sits under the support class category, and we're kind of categorizing support as a character that supports the teammates through ammo distribution or through reviving or healing. So there's multiple characters within the support category. Falk specifically has the pistol turret, like Oscar mentioned, so she can heal you at a distance, but she can also revive you at a distance. And she also has a particular trait, a combat surgeon, which means that when she does revive you, she brings you back to full health, which is something, if someone else revives you, another type of specialist revives you, they won't bring you back to full health. So it really leans into that particular role even stronger and pushing that.
I used to be a medic player.
Boris as well.
But I switched to recon now.
Engineer role for us. First time we've had that engineer role back in quite some time.
Yeah, for sure. So Boris is a really cool guy. He has the sentry system as his particular gadget. And this is a sentry system that Boris can place down, and it will acquire targets and support you with supportive fire. But the key is that the trait that...
Cockers, that is certainly not OP in Battlefield. In Battlefield, it is really hard to make something so OP because it's Battlefield. There are a few things that could be considered OP, but that long distance revive, like imagine that what he's talking about is Battlefield is 64 versus 64. I think one revive can be a big impact, but I don't think it would be game breaking.
That Boris has means that he needs to be close to the sentry for it to be able to actually be as effective as it can be, and it's also quite of a squishy gadget in that sense, because it's a perfect thing for someone like Casper, for example, who sits at a distance with his recon drone, because the recon drone can also fire darts of EMP. So he can actually fly over with his recon drone and shoot darts at the turret and take it out instantly, because it's weak against EMP. It's also weak against explosions. So there's always that, rock, paper, scissors counter gameplay taken into consideration when we're building all these things.
So that's our specialists, and plenty more specialists to show you guys.
They actually
before
don't.
We get to launch too. But let's talk about the weapons. I mean, we've got a great selection of weapons already in the game, but there's
both game modes is 128 players.
We kind of lightly touched on earlier on. People would have seen it for the first time.
Like, it's all designed with 128 players in mind.
The plus menu.
Yeah,
this is huge.
Man, listen.
It's one of those things where
this thing had me going nuts. This has me going nuts. So apparently, you can change your gun on the fly. Like, for example, let's say you're going into close quarters. You can be like, all right, this 4x scope off, red dot on it. And it's like, okay, I'm entering an open field now. 4x on it, red dot out. Like, you can change your gun on the go. Look at this. Different grips, different muzzles, scopes, and ammo. Like your clip. This is nuts.
Particularly this thing, I'd say, it was one of those things that, like, from a conceptual state, when it was on paper and just did conceptual markups of it, it was just like, ooh, this is pretty sweet. And then once it actually went into the game, it was that is cool. This is amazing. Iterate on them, to get to a place where it's like, that's where it goes. But this one was just there, and we also done external feedback on it, and we've done internal feedback on it, and the general output is like, it feels like this is something that has always been here, and it should have always been here. It doesn't. So it feels like something that we should have done it a long time ago, almost. But in general, it means that, like, you're running around and you find yourself in a situation you didn't expect yourself to find yourself in, which is Battlefield in a nutshell. I ran around a corner and she was like, oh, okay, now I'm in this space, and that's not what I spawned with. So how do I counter that? Do I respawn? It's like, no. You can actually just take up your weapon in front of you, change out the barrel, change out the underbarrel attachment. You can change out the scope, and you can change out the ammo type. So you kind of change the way it plays completely. But there is still a range in terms of balance here, for example, which is important to call out, I think. And that's like, you can't have a SMG and turn it into a sniper rifle. An SMG still sits within its category of usage, but it can deviate slightly to either side, right?
Yeah.
So the plus system is not going to be removing the need for weapon archetypes.
Yeah, you can't change the core of the gun, but you can make an SMG close range to mid range at least, and help you a little bit more in a different environment.
That goes through the whole game. And kind of then we decided this early on in the game vision, right? This notion of like adaptability for players, given like everything that's happening on the battlefield, we need to give the players the optimal amount of choices in real time. So the plus menu is an example of that. The call-in systems, you can kind of drop in vehicles kind of at any time, but also that choice with the specialists, giving them the option to use any primary weapon or open gadget they wish.
Yeah.
And like just unlock loads of sandbox moments. Like in past Battlefield games, you were kind of stuck, to be honest, and the only way to kind of change your gear was actually more or less to redeploy.
Yeah.
And now you're taking these kind of real-time decisions, just creating a whole bunch of new mayhem, right? So it's a lot of fun.
Yes.
And one of the best ways to take out a sniper, if you don't have a car being flung by a tornado for you.
But that's a good thing, though.
That's a good thing, but that doesn't happen every time. It's like, if this happens now in the playtest, by the way. So if there's a sniper laying on a hill somewhere, and there's a certain range which you can call in the vehicles. You can't call it far, but if you're within a certain range, you can actually call in a tank that lands on them. So it's a good way to take out that sniper. Just like, he doesn't even know, and he's just laying there proning and sniping. All of a sudden, I called in a tank that just lands on his head and kills him. That's pretty fun.
There's so many gadgets as well to play around with. I mean, Oscar, you mentioned there. We now
Also
have-
me.
we have open gadgets, but
Going
of
on a
course we've also
tank
got
on
that class
somebody's head.
gadgets as
Also
well.
me.
Like, they really do amp up the sandbox nature of the gameplay.
No, so each specialist has its the gadget that is connected to them specifically, and then we have the bucket of open gadgetry. And the open gadgetry bucket is very varied and diverse, and it means that you can stick with a specialist and still be eligible in every situation you find yourself in, because you can always be, okay, I'm going to be in this part of the map where there's a lot of vehicles. I can decide to equip some gadgetry that is good for fighting vehicles, even if I'm playing with, say, Falk, that where my primary role is healing. I can still be a healer in a combat situation that involves vehicles and still be viable. And that's something that is that is new for Battlefield, and it's something that I think we needed.
And the vehicles too, we've I mean, not only have we just brought back some favourites, the little bird's back.
Yes, please.
We love to see it.
Little bird.
But we've also took a really good look at the way in which we approach vehicles.
Those are my favourite helicopters. I'm not much for the fighter helicopter. I like the agile one and the big one, the transport one. I can drive that one really well.
Yeah, there was a notion in the beginning of the project where we said we want vehicles to be platforms for team play. So we wanted to be enablers of great team play, and they've been so in the past, I think, but we just kind of touched upon it. So we're taking it further now with 2042, and that means that there's different seats in a vehicle has significantly more roles available. You can have a particular seat in a tank, for example, that is a spotter seat. So your friend who's in the spotter seat, his or her job is to actually just spot. And there's of course...
That's literally what I do when I'm in the tank with Ross.
In modern hardware, 360-degree turn turrets for gunner. I've missed it. Yeah. It's wonderful that it's back, and it's really cool. And there's many other ones, like anti-air seats. There's of course the driver seats and the gunner seats and different types of gunner seats.
The things I do for content.
Rocket launchers. There's even one vehicle that can deploy mines on the go.
What?
So it's perfect if someone is pursuing you and chasing you, and you just put down some mines on the go.
Are you telling me that there's a vehicle that drops mines like a James Bond gadget? You kidding me? That's my vehicle. I'm gonna sit in the back, just... Mine. This is amazing. That's amazing.
Go and you see them blow up behind you.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we given the big Frostbite upgrade, we got a new physics, sub-engine as part of that. So I think that the level of skill that's now in the vehicles, just kind of driving the transport vehicles, controlling the tanks, it's really cool. It's a level of kind of physicality we haven't had in our previous games, and a level of control that's completely new.
It just feels better to maneuver and better to drive, and it's more fun to take them off some take it off some sweet jumps, as you say. But I mean, the cool thing about vehicles, which I also want to mention, is kind of like when you're playing Battlefield, even if you're not a vehicle player, just being around vehicles is awesome. So even if you want to play infantry and you're running around an orbital, for example, and you're on your way to the rocket, and you're an idiot like me, so you just try.
What I really hope will happen in Battlefield 2042, I really hope this will happen, is that when you're standing next to a tank and the tank unleashes like a fucking shot, that it will literally affect you in some shape or form. Not like take health off of you, but like there's a boom that comes with it when it unleashes. It would be really cool to see your character sort of affect to it in a certain way. Like I would love it if I'm just like holding my gun, right, and suddenly somebody shoots a cannon and I go like this, like just briefly, like Jesus, like a flinch. I think it would be really cool. Or like have sort of like a shockwave that comes onto the screen, like you see it, like how it distorts the air when it like breaks like a sound barrier, like that. Like it would be cool to have some visual representation of that when you're close to a vehicle. Even like, and I know they already do this with Battlefield games, is like when a bullet or a tank shoots past you, that whole that, but like build on that. Like, I want more of that stuff. Like, the things I really enjoy about Battlefield, like I was saying this, like in the trailer, you see this guy, he's like running, and there's like explosions everywhere, and he's like sliding, and suddenly there's like a fucking like plane that like almost shaves off his head, like stuff like that. Like that whole ambiance around you of like just everything going on, and it's a Battlefield, you can't hear shit. Like usually my decibels when I'm talking, it goes up exponentially when I play games like Battlefield because the explosions are so immersive for me. Like I literally will be like, yo, we gotta get inside, and then Pixel next to me is like, sweetie, it's just in the game, and I'm like, fuck. Like, you know, I get really immersed when there's a lot of stuff going on. I hope they build on that even with small things.
To run across the open space. Just seeing two transport vehicles, you know, just coming around a bend and then being engaged in a high-speed fight just in front of you, you're a part of that moment, even if you are not driving the actual vehicle. And that's also those things we call Battlefield moments. Sometimes they're big and they're bombastic, but just having that moment happen in front of you, it looks like it's a scripted moment almost, but it's two players just ducking it out in two vehicles.
Yeah, that's really cool to see.
It's just such a great addition that you only get in Battlefield, basically.
Yeah.
And it really does make all the difference in the world when you're rising out above the stadium on Hourglass and you're looking out across the distance to just see jets and tanks just all over the place. It's great for Battlefield players who've been playing this franchise for a long time.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But we really are just scratching the surface here. There's so much more to tell you on the road ahead. Of course, the 22nd of July, we'll be there at EA Play to show the next experience that's coming to 2042. And then later, Hazard Zone. And we're keeping pretty tight-lipped on both of these experiences so far. But what can we tell people about Hazard Zone, and what can they expect from it?
Yeah, Hazard Zone is really something that's taking kind of the superpowers of DICE, the Battlefield formula, to a new level. It's a high-stakes, squad-based experience. It's not your Battle Royale that you might be expecting. It's something new and a bit more contemporary, I'd say.
I'd say so. But I think it is important to call out that this is not a Battle Royale mode. It's something that we're building for Battlefield. It's something that we're building that is ours. But it is really built on those mechanics, those high-stakes mechanics that really builds tension as you play and gets you, like, you know, those sweaty palms moments when you're just like... But it's also then, you know, combined with squad play. I mean, we are a squad-based team play shooter, and I'd say there's no other space within 2042 where the choices you make in terms of what I choose to bring and what my friends choose to bring, what specialist is my friend playing, what weapon is my friend playing, what gadgetry is my friend playing, that has such an incredibly high importance in Hazard Zone when you're playing this game.
$1 million idea, DICE. Listen to me for a second. If you're not going to say this during the span of this video. I love this whole Hazard Zone, that it's not a Battle Royale because I'm so done with Battle Royales. But please, for the love of God, make a ranking attached to this. Make it so that the more we perform and how we perform, there's a rank tied to it. I would love to see a sort of competitive edge that is built into this game. So please, DICE, if you hear this, by any chance, make it so that there's a ranking mode to this. I would love to see that. I would love to have something to also sink my teeth into other than just multiplayer stuff. So please, tie a ranking to this.
So really, really tight squad play. Really tight communication is important.
I love that.
Built around those that tension.
I really like.
Type of game.
I really like communication.
So, super excited to talk about this.
Yeah.
Hey, Sander, how you doing, man?
When we're allowed to talk about it, in a bit soon.
Another part of this experience, which again we've started to talk a little bit about, is live service. So we definitely are happy to talk to people about what our approach is so far. So what are we saying so far? So most importantly, we want to make sure that we take the best of the learnings we've had from the likes of, say, Battlefield 5, where we can keep all our players together.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big decision we made really early on in the project. We don't want to split our community in any way when it comes to gameplay content. So all of the new locations we'll head out to in part of live service, you know, free for everyone as part of that. And then we are introducing a battle pass as part of our seasons. We've announced 4 seasons as part of the first year.
I know I hate battle passes, but as long as the battle pass does not interrupt game flow, then it's an optional service that I don't mind. The one thing I hope is that they don't tie in anything gameplay-wise that could give a person an edge. Because then we're starting to enter the pay to win territory. Make it purely aesthetic. Make it so that I get double XP. Like if I get level 10 in my battle pass, I get an hour extra XP, something like that. I don't care, but don't tie in anything sort of like, oh, you can get this M4 only if you do the battle pass. So please just steer away from that, okay? Just steer. Make it purely aesthetic and things to skip things, if you will. Just not pay to win. Pay to skip, I can understand. But not pay to win. Let's see here. I'm Gucci. That's a really good idea to add a ranked system onto it. Yeah, I agree. Been racing all day. I beat Fabi's ass. Nice. You see, he's not unbeatable. He's not unbeatable. To be honest, I don't think they will. It's not what Battlefield is about. True. That's why I hope they won't. It's all about skill and level up to get those weapons. I do know that in the past, I think they still do. You can pay to skip. Like, if you pay a $5, you can unlock everything in a certain specialist class. So I hope they replace that by just having it in the battle pass. Like battle pass, you hit level 10. Okay, now you get 5 times XP for playing engineer. Stuff like that. Like I said, don't make it pay to win. Make it pay to skip.
Every season will also come with a specialist. The battle pass system has 2 tiers, the free tier and the premium tier. And all of your gameplay hardware you'll of course find in the free tier, and in the premium tier, cosmetics and stuff you can use to express yourself across vehicles, weapons, and your specialists.
Okay, let's go back slightly to just
really
go back a little bit.
Communication is important, and then built around those that tension builder, high stakes type of gameplay. So super excited to talk about this as we when we're allowed to talk about it.
And a bit about what our
live service, free for repetition we made really early on in the.
Importantly,
here we go.
We want to make sure that we take the best of the learnings we've had from the likes of, say, Battlefield 5, where we can keep all our players together.
Yeah, I mean, that was a big decision we made really early on in the project. We don't want to split our community in any way when it comes to gameplay content. So all of the new locations we'll head out to in part of live service, free for everyone as part of that. And then we are introducing a battle pass as part of our seasons.
So basically what they're saying is that, for example, right now in Battlefield 4, if I have the expansion China Rising and Panda does not have China Rising, we can't play any map that came with China Rising. That's why you always had to buy all the expansions, because also servers would upgrade, and you would, like, for example, be playing Caspian Border, right? You would play Caspian Border and everybody can play it. It came standard with Battlefield 4, but then it switched to a night operations one, and then suddenly we couldn't, because Panda did not have night operations. So I'm glad now that they don't do that anymore. Like, when a map comes out, it's a map for everybody. I like that.
We've announced 4 seasons as part of the first year. Every season will also come with a specialist. The battle pass system has 2 tiers, the free tier and the premium tier. And all of your gameplay hardware you'll of course find in the free tier, and in the premium tier, cosmetics and stuff you can use to express yourself across vehicles, weapons, and your specialists.
We'll have plenty more to say on that before we launch the game. But stick around. We're going to take another look at our gameplay trailer that we debuted this past week at the Xbox Showcase. And when we return, we'll be back with more of the gang from across DICE to chat some more about Battlefield 2042.
Ooh, there we go. Let's watch this again. Dude, this is so fucking cool. Let's turn up the volume a little bit.
Attention all squads. The Russian troops are falling back. Do whatever you can to secure the sector.
My heart is racing right now, guys. You have no idea. My heart is really racing to play this game. Look at that sandstorm. Please, please turn to their sandstorm. Show me again. Look at this. Dude. This is gonna be insane. So nutty. That's so nutty.
I don't think I'm ever going to get bored.
No, me neither, my man. Me neither. I can't get bored of that. Jesus Christ. The only thing I'm telling you right now, right? With the flying kite thing, I wonder if you go towards a tornado, if the tornado keeps you in the air. Like, how cool would that be if you could literally, like, you fly a kite, right? You go to the outer side and you literally let it propel you back the other way. Like, you go around it and then you literally leave the tornado, but it sort of like gave you a boost forward. Oh my god. I can't wait to play this game, man. I can't wait. I am... Oof. Man, I'm getting excited. I'm actually getting excited. Hey, Marcus, how you doing? I think it's real smart of them to put those key things in that wasn't really meant to happen, but was done by players. They, like, in the beginning, I think, like, he took, like, 10-15 minutes about talking exactly that, Sonder, where he said, like, it's a sandbox game more than anything. And they basically said that they want people to really make it a unique experience for themselves, like do things that they want, stuff like that, which I'm very excited about. I'm very, very excited about. What the fuck, that's class. Jump off a building and kite fly. Man, I'm getting this. Me too. I'm just debating which version to get. Let's see. Just another dead game in 3 months. I disagree wholeheartedly. But hello, Joe. Out of the box, okay, making food. Be right back. All right, Sonder, enjoy making food. All right, let's continue.
Of watching that trailer. But welcome back, folks. As promised, we are joined now by more of the gang from DICE. Joining us, we have Marie Buskard-Granlund, Associate Producer on 2042, Nicole Lee, Senior Game Designer, and Ferris Musmar, Associate Design Director. How are we doing, gang? You realise this is the largest collection of DICE employees that has happened now in, what, close to a year and a half?
Yeah, it's been north of a year, right? I think we met yesterday. Oh, it was a thrilling experience. Humans in the real flesh that can build video games even. It's pretty rad.
Yeah.
Did you have it on your game dev bingo card that you go back to making video games in your bedrooms? Was that
it's kind of like FIFA, same game, new jacket. Nah, not like this. The concept of a game will always stay the same, but I think they're making significant changes to 2042.
Have the team connected to each other, that sort of stuff, and it's really nice.
Some slight differences, but pretty much carbon copy paste. I agree to disagree. I mean, if you feel that way, I'm not gonna disagree with you. But from what they've shown so far, I don't think so.
We obviously just got to take another look at that incredible gameplay trailer that we showed off this weekend. your favorite parts of this, because there's so much cool stuff happening in there. A lot of which is work that you guys
It does
helped
look sick
to shape up. But Marie, like when you're watching that trailer back this weekend, like what was the big thing that got you smiling just seeing it happen there on the big screen?
I think just seeing it all come together as a game, really like that you can experience for real. I think the last couple of months we have been working on this game so tirelessly, and just seeing it now just come together.
By the way, just as a quick note, it's people like her, right, that have one of the toughest jobs when designing a game. Producers, like I think she said the associate producer. Producers have a really tough job because they liaise with so many teams within a company to make sure everything is on the same page. Like, I am glad that they have a producer at this table, because those are the people that literally have to like run from floor to floor in a building and make sure and send emails out to make sure that everybody stays on the same page. These are your organizers. Very like, she makes sure everybody stays on the same page, everybody's working in the right thing at the right time.
To the experience, that's why we kind of envisioned from the beginning. It's just so thrilling.
Yeah. Nicole, did you have a favorite part looking back on it?
It's really when you're seeing all those vehicles in action at last, because previously whenever you're looking at one of these kinds of trailers,
Senior game designers. Senior role means that they basically have to work a lot, and they tend to not have the same recognition that their managerial staff gets, like leads. But these senior game designers is like Kyle to our Ocean Drive. They do the brunt. They're the workhorses. Like, these are the people. They grind the fucking shit. Like, they grind it, and they do it better than anyone else.
you just go, okay, there's a bunch of infantry, there's some scattered vehicle action, and this time you have them.
Has to be the same type of game, but the mechanics and looks can improve so much too. She is so Swedish, I can hear it. Yeah, you can tell by her name as well. Yeah, it is, but it's still the same game, same concept with some slight gameplay and mechanics change. The game is either World War II style, modern, or futuristic. Still does not take my hype up at all. I mean, again, you know, everybody else has their own preferences. For me, I am hyped beyond belief because it's a Battlefield game. I love Battlefield games. I've been playing the fuck out of them since Battlefield 2.
Earlier on, Dan, about
I've never much played 42, like 1942 back in the day. At that point, I think I was playing more Call of Duty and Counter-Strike. But Battlefield 2 was my entry to Battlefield, and it changed everything for me. It changed everything. Battlefield 2 changed everything for me. Since then, I just love grand scale. I love grand scale warfare. And Battlefield does it better than anyone else. It's not even close.
Sit down and enjoy a breakthrough round with AI, and there's always like a good 5-10 minutes of just wingsuiting for no apparent reason. More than that wingsuiting. It's just
see, look, if he flies up towards it, can he like...
Love it. Let's get back into some more of the details then that we were chatting about just before we watched that trailer. So Ferris, we were chatting earlier on today about progression, because we've obviously taken lots of different approaches to it over the years, but with this, we've really tried to think about the best possible player experience, haven't we?
COD has one of the best gunplay.
Move towards the specialist system.
COD is really good at gunplay.
The players can actually equip their weapons all over the different characters. We moved a little bit away from the class system.
Still, this for me is one of the biggest things that they've changed, is the way classes work. That now you can play recon with any fucking gun. I love that. You can play engineer with any fucking gun. I love that. Thank you so much for doing that, because this makes it so that not everybody is going assault just because they want an assault rifle. Now everybody can play medic with an assault rifle, recon with an assault rifle, engineer with an assault rifle. Thank you so much for doing that. That's really good.
This allowed us to actually have more streamlined progression, where the player can progress all of their characters technically at the same time, because they're unlocking hardware that they can use on all of them, and they're unlocking vehicles that they can use for all of their specialists. So this helped us a lot, looking at it, looking at a way to streamline it, make it more engaging.
That is such a big change for Battlefield.
That really is like the best part of the experience really now, because when we rank up, previously you've, as a player, targeted that one thing. If I'm going to sit on assault or sit on an assault rifle class and try and work towards that next unlock. But now you find
I can literally show you guys my Battlefield 5 profile, and you will see that I only play assault rifles and sniper rifles. I don't touch on SMGs. I don't touch on shotguns and LMGs. I don't like LMGs. I don't like shotguns. You can literally tell by my profile. Like I was joking about it a few days ago. I think it was Sunday when I was showing you guys my Battlefield profile. You saw like assault rifles. I almost done all assault rifles. Snipers, all the bolt actions. I've leveled all of them. All my bolt actions are at level 10. All my assault rifles, level 10. I've maxed them all out. And it's cool because now I can play engineer and still do the same thing. Just have assault rifles. So that's so good.
You know, you're unlocking new equipment. It's making you change the way you think about some of the specialists you maybe haven't played already. You're making you think, oh, but if I use this now with this specialist, this changes the experience up quite a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's easier to make the jump. Like we mentioned earlier, we've seen in data from previous games that, like, you know, when people have maxed out a particular class and they it's time to maybe jump to another class to play something, they go like, yeah, but I don't want to use this weapon type.
Yep.
So I'm just
there we go.
Exactly. The new openness and the more approach to a sandboxy notion of the entire systems. It's easier for people to kind of just jump around and test different things. And if you really have a weapon you're proficient with and you like, you can bring that weapon with you to any of the specialists. You can just try it out. And I think that just lowers the threshold of trying out different things in general.
Yes.
It's certainly been that way for me. I mean, I've exclusively avoided the recon class because I'm just a potato sniper. But yet, historically, we've had so many cool gadgets and functions available in that kind of class.
I forced recon on myself. I forced recon on myself.
When you're interacting with the different specialists.
I think absolutely, and especially I always like to talk about Casper when you've got a motion sensor down there and you know there's someone in the area, your situational awareness changes, and you can play it both ways, right? On one hand, you can say, I'm going to take a shotgun.
Hey, T, how you doing, sweetheart?
I carry shotguns, I got a shotgun now. Or SMG, and you just go in and you start clearing up a room. And then alternatively, if you're like up on a perch somewhere and you say, someone might go in the elevator over there, but I've got a really good perch right now with my sniper rifle. You just go, oh, there's a motion sensor telling me there's someone behind. You can solve a problem. So it's really a different approach to solving these kinds of combat puzzles that just show up from time to time. And I think that's a huge change, really.
Yeah.
And it's such a
cool huge
world as well that we get to play. And like we were chatting about it a lot earlier on, talking about it in relation to our maps and in relation to the characters and the way that we're kind of approaching storytelling in this game, because this is new for us. We've obviously had story and reasons to go to places in past games, but like, how's it been now developing a Battlefield game where we're telling so much of this story of no-pats and this world that we're inheriting in 2042? As designers and producers, like, is it changing your approach to the content that you guys make?
I think because this time
I'm kind of excited about the hovercrafts. It'll be a cool vehicle.
Single-player campaign in 2042. We're infusing the lore of the world via the specialists and via the surrounding elements that you have in the world. And we're going to take that even further during the live service. So it made us approach growing the lore of the universe in a very different way that is embedded in the gameplay. You're naturally exposed to the lore of the world as you're playing the game.
Getting an understanding kind of why you're there as well, and what this specialist that you're playing as, why they're fighting, is also quite interesting.
Yeah, because these no-pats, the non-patriated, they're each fighting for something, aren't they? Because, I mean, whilst this is, it can look like a bleak world, there's definitely a lot of optimism in these no-pats and everything they're fighting for.
Yeah, early on in the concept, we talked about the notion of hope. and the notion of purpose, and a notion that's really filled with change. And I think we gotten the chance now to talk about some of the backstory to this game, but that's just really the tip of the iceberg. Just kudos to everyone in the narrative team, back home. There's just so much work that's gone down into the notepads to the locations. And as we kind of jump into a live service now, there's a lot of secrets we haven't talked about.
It's not overly futuristic. It's only 20 years in the future.
We're looking forward to taking our place on a journey to explore more about what's actually led up to 2042 and what's next.
Yeah. It is really exciting, this story, by the way. You'll hear lots more about it from us before we go on to launch the game. When you're looking back then at 2042 and all the work we've done so far, because...
Let's pause here for a second so I quickly read. If they want to make it more futuristic, they should add a mech. I think mechs were in 2142. I think 2042, I don't think they necessarily need a mech. But I do feel like they should advance the vehicles more than 3 and 4, which looks like they have been. So that's a good thing. I would say it's not a futuristic shooter. I think it's more modern because it's only 20 years, really. It's not that big. Like, I don't think that in 20 years we'll be using mechs in warfare. I don't think the technology is quite that close yet. D, I visited a new shop today. I fell in love. It's called the Nun Head Gardener, and it's floor-to-ceiling plants, ceramics, and candles. Sorry if it's way off topic, but I was so excited to tell someone. Oh, well, I am happy that you found that that store. I hope you took pictures or maybe a video you can show it me. And you don't have to apologize. I like it when people are excited and they want to share that with me. So I'm very, very happy that you wanted to share that with me. 20 years can be a big difference in technology. Not to the mech extent. Unless, but what kind of mechs are we talking? Are we talking like ground unit mechs, or are we talking like Gundam mechs? Because I don't think they can handle Gundam mechs. But I don't know, like maybe like simple like foot units, like those Star Wars AT-ST or AT-AT. I don't know what they're called. Maybe something like that, like a walker. Like deformed cars in Super Mecha Champions. There you go. Maybe something like that. Maybe I can say something like that.
Because I mean, well, it's crazy to think that this last week really has been the first time players are learning about it. We've been living with this secret now for quite a while. Like, now that we've reached this kind of checkpoint for us as a team, when you're looking back, like, what's the big thing that you're so proud of and so excited for players to be able to get to play?
I mean, there's so much to really talk about when it comes to this, but I'm always talking about the setting, right? Because you are really dealing with that kind of modern era where there's so many opportunities, and when you have new tech coming in, you can bring that all together. And when I talk about tech, I'm not just talking about military hardware. It's about all the other stuff you have on the processing side. We are able to deliver this in the game, and you're just having this experience that people across different platform generations are able to enjoy, and that's something I find that's truly exciting.
And then empowered with the new tech as well, like we were able to build maps on a bigger scale than before, that we were able to add all this like dynamic elements to them. That is quite interesting. And then combined with all the elements you mentioned and the hardware we brought in, like the sandbox has expanded in a very, very interesting ways for us that maybe we didn't even foresee it to go to these lengths when we first started, actually.
Yeah, because it's amazing, like, because Daniel, you and the team obviously worked so hard to try and map out so much since that original concept when we sat down those years ago.
Oh yeah, no, it's evolved quite some. But I think that's also the nature of Battlefield, right? We always have kind of like a notion of like, okay, these are the tools that we're going to give you. But we know from experience that every single game we release, there's combinations that we haven't really thought of. There's things that people are going to do that we haven't really thought of, and like sometimes it takes some extreme cases, but most of the time it's actually just part of that sandbox fun that makes Battlefield. So I'm excited for 2042 coming out and actually getting in the hands of the players, because I think there's more opportunities in these games to find these kind of crazy moments that we necessarily didn't find in our testing, that people are just going to find when they play. So I'm looking forward to that. See what
I love you,
what
Joe.
everyone can come up with, basically.
I mean, it's
Fucking troll.
It's crazy as well, because even though there's so many of us from across DICE here in Stockholm here, and again, there's so many more of us just sat at home kind of watching this live with you guys right now. But it isn't just DICE that's helping to work and shape this new era of Battlefield. Of course, we've got so many more teams, including DICE LA, who've got some really exciting stuff to show us at EA Play, Oscar.
Yeah, maybe first to mention, we have folks in Stockholm, in Gothenburg, in Guildford, in LA, and folks across all over the world, actually across Electronic Arts, helping.
I had to delete as soon as someone's coming from my Insta today. I can imagine who it was.
Getting built out of DICE LA is quite special. The team joined our big team meeting.
Yeah, Doodle, I saw you jumped a little.
World record. Lots of folks were actually in that meeting, and they got the chance to show the latest update from that experience. I think our chat kind of exploded. Yeah. The team's super pumped, and we're just looking forward to July 22nd at EA Play Live, when we get the chance to show the world what the DICE LA team have been working on. It's quite special, I'd say.
It's going to be good.
1 month.
I'm big time excited what our friends at DICE
1 month for EA Play Live.
EA Play. So make sure you stick it in your diaries. July 22nd. I promise, if you're watching this, you don't want to miss it. So Marie, Nicole, Ferris, the boss man, Dan, it's been great seeing you and chatting to you today, and of course taking everyone a bit behind the scenes on all the work that's being done on 2042. We really do. And from me and the gang working across 2042, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
All right, July 22nd. July 22nd. I am very excited. I am very hopeful. I think DICE is doing an absolute great job. This was a really nice presentation. Well done, DICE. Well done. You've made me very hopeful. Credit where credit's due.
Driving round with my baby, top drops and raindrops, motion got me all faded.